Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, ModzvilleUSA here, back with another video, and we got something a little different on the bench today. This, my friends, is the Virtual Boy, Nintendo's biggest flop from the mid-90s. I knew one kid that had this, and he was super stoked, and I went over there, played tennis with him, and I was like, what? But many people have grown to love this thing over the years, and I do too. I have two of these actually. I've got a consoleized version, and I've got a proper in-box Japanese Virtual Boy with all the fixings. So yeah, main thing you need to do when you get these, almost guaranteed, is to reflow the lenses, the eyes, similar to the DMG Game Boys. You get vertical lines, and you need to, or you get horizontal lines on the Virtual Boy, just dead pixel lines where nothing shows up. We've got two dead ones on the left lens here. I'll throw a picture. It's really hard to get a shot of what it looks like because, you know, your face is supposed to be in this thing. Yeah, there's that. And this one also had really corroded battery terminals. I already fixed that off camera, but I'm going to go ahead and I'll show you just a rundown of how to service that thing because it took a little fooling around to figure out. So let's get into it. Okay, so here's the controller. The way the Virtual Boy works is it's powered from the controller. So generally you'll have a battery pack here. Nintendo also made a like an adapter that replaces this, that's like, you know, like a wall wart basically, so you can do batteries or plug it into the wall with the other variant. So we want to pull this off. There was a lot of corrosion on these bad boys. It was pretty bad, pretty bad. Let's get the batteries out of here. So these guys, pretty accessible. These were fairly corroded. Just a bit of white vinegar, let it sit, and then hit it with some 99 alcohol toothbrush after it's soaked for a bit. The real challenge was getting to, let's see if I can even, these guys down there. So let's zoom in. So it took some fiddling around because it doesn't look like it's, you can even get in there, but we can pull, we can get this bad boy off. Just some nubs here. Just be careful, you don't want to break the plastic. And what worked for me is just taking a flathead. So this actually slides out. There's like a section here, this bottom bit. It's not all one piece. This slides out. And what I was able to do was come in here, the flathead nice in the middle here. So we do have this tab here. So we want to, the tab on this side doesn't seem to exist on this one. If we push it in like so, should be able, yep, just like that. So there we go, we've got access to it, and it's not perfect, but it's much better than it was. The corrosion is pretty tough to deal with, but really you just want to get as much of it off as you can. It's not going to be perfect, but you can get it working again. If it's covered in corrosion, this thing is not, your batteries aren't going to make a contact. It's not going to turn on. It's no bueno. So let's put this back in. Okay, so let's go over testing one of these. Like if you're servicing the controller port there, a bunch of corrosion. Something that can be a hang-up is not knowing that you need a game in for the console to even power on. So if you don't have a game and you're trying to like test one of these, it's got no power. Might have no power because you have no game in there. That is a thing with these. So have the controller in, turn it on. Let's see if we can get a shot of what's going on in there. So we got Wario jumping around. Not the clearest picture ever. A little challenging to film here, but you can see that it's working. But you're just gonna have to take my word for it that there are 2 rows of horizontal lines not working on this side. Well, alright. So here are the lenses. These are what you look into here. And the issue is right down in here. These cables, they're kind of secured with some old adhesive. It likes to come undone, and then you get the issues of horizontal lines. Now there are mod kits that exist that people are using to, cut the silicone, remove the flex entirely, and replace it with something new. That's not mandatory. You don't need to do that. It's not a bad option, don't get me wrong, but we can service these as is and get it to a position where it's not going to become an issue again. So I would rather just do that. Now shout out to Pink Skeleton Gaming. Go give him a follow over on Twitter. He does really good mod work. And a while ago, I saw a post from him where he does something a little bit like this. And this will make a bit more sense once we get into it. So essentially what's going to happen here is we're going to take our iron, we're going to flow up this section here, and we have to come in and kind of melt the plastic, and we're going to be soldering the pins that are underneath that plastic. So if you go in there willy-nilly, it works, but everything's going to look super like the melted plastic isn't going to be uniform. It's got a not very aesthetic look to it. So what we're doing is taping it off in a straight line here, not solely but almost entirely for the aesthetics, having it in place. I can't complain with though. That looks, I like that right there. Okay, so we are just going to be touching up all the soldering there, tinning it up, reflowing it, and we've got a fixed lens. Okay, we're just gonna get into it here. Want a good amount of flux. And we're gonna get some melted plastic whatever that material is on the flex cable. So we might need to do some cleaning in between here. So what I'd like to do to start is tin up just this bottom section here. Where the flex meets the PCB. A good tin. Okay. Okay. Now, I'm using the chisel tip here. We don't want to drag these around. What we want to do is a brushing motion. We don't want to misalign these pins. We're going in up to the tape here. Kind of brushing. Might take a couple goes per pin. We want a nice uniform melting going on here. Otherwise, it's gonna look like shit. Yes, dude. Yes. Then I'm gonna come in with some IPA. It's not done. I would like to get as much of this crap out of here so we can work a little bit better. So now we've got these bridges here, but if you look at the board, that's one big trace for both of these. This bridging we want to do something about. So we're going to come back in, we're going to clear that, and this pin I don't like, so I'm going to go over that again. And we've got one misaligned pin up here. So I'm going to switch to my conical, straighten that out. Yep. There we go. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and remove this tape. We're going to clean it up and take a look. Well, alright, ladies and gentlemen, that's looking pretty good to me. You may have noticed these corner traces got kind of sucked out. That's because you can see here that these go nowhere. So if we reflow these corner 3 as we're swiping down, these traces are going to come down. But they're just anchors. It's not the end of the world. It's not really a big deal at all. But just something to be mindful of that I noticed there. And might be in your best interest to avoid reflowing these two on the edge here. The far right ones seem to be a bit more secure, but if you flow these ones, you're going to suck the traces out a little bit. So otherwise, it looks pretty damn sexy to me. So we're going to go ahead and do that again on the other lens. Got a nice before and after shot here. So let's run it back. Well, alright, ladies and gentlemen, we got them. And that is looking sexy, if I do say so myself, not to toot my own horn. We got a beautiful straight line, thanks to the Captain tape here. We've got some nice shiny joints. We should be good to go. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit more, just because, you know, we've got some Getting all of the melted cable remnants out is a little tough, but it's looking like we've got some great connections. And again, these corner ones, best to try to avoid because they just start flopping around. There's nothing securing them really, or not really, like there's nothing securing these traces at all. They're just anchors, so if it comes out, don't freak out. But yeah, it's if you go over these, like these traces are gonna come out. There's like no way around it really. So maybe just do the corners, the very, very corner ones, and leave the two next to them alone. Otherwise, pretty simple. And there are replacements, like full-on replacement flexes to swap this whole section out. But in my opinion, you don't want to go straight to that. You might as well just service it. The cable's fine, it's just the connections suffered over the years, and they're coming up, and you've got some loose joints that you need to reflow. Now if you fuck this up, which is fairly easy to do, you know, these cables, or these traces here in the cable can move around quite easily. You might end up in a pinch, and if that happens, by all means get the replacements, swap it in, fix your lens. But there's no harm in at least trying this first before jumping to the full-blown replacement. So I'll have the replacements linked below. Borderline OCD has a video on that. I'll have that linked if you want to do the full-on flex replacement. But in my personal opinion, you should really try this first, and then, you know, if you fail hard. Well, alright, ladies and gentlemen, so essentially where I'm at now, I've been troubleshooting off screen for a while. It's in the exact same situation as it was when I started. No new dead pixels have been introduced, and none of the two existing dead pixels have been resolved. Now, it's 100%. I've gone over this a couple times, but just for the sake of showing you what I'm dealing with here, it's not the soldering. These pins are on here good. And it's not even I considered it could be like a break in the cable somewhere, one of these traces. But that's not it either. So if we go through and beep, and we want to beep here on the PCB, not on the flex, to make sure there's a good connection, you know. So go in, beep each one. Oh, wait a minute. No. Yeah, so it's not a connection issue unless it's a short. They're supposed to be shorted. You can see it right here. It's all one signal. These are supposed to be shorted. Yep. So there's not the work. There's not a short. Signals are all going. So, yeah, I mean, it's gotta be. So what can it be? It's not the flex cable. Everything beeped out from the PCB all the way to the contacts at the edge here. So the connector on the main board, not the issue, because I've swapped these around and it persists depending on, it doesn't matter which side it's on, same lines are dead. So what could it be? Big ups to today's sponsor, Pcbway. If you're in the market to get some PCBs manufactured, 3D print work done, or CNC machining, Pcbway has you covered. My personal favorite is the retro stuff section under shared projects. If you find a project you like, you can order one directly from the page with the choice of having it assembled as well. The creators of these projects even get a cut from your purchase. Click the link in the description if this interests you. Now, let's get back to the show. Well, alright, ladies and gentlemen, it's been about a week. So on the left here is the one we worked on, presumably that has dead pixels. And this one has been just floating around in a drawer. I don't remember what the state of it was in, but some of the traces on the inside have broken. I believe this came from the one that I ended up using in a consoleized Virtual Boy build with Vertex Virtual Tap consoleized, one of the 3D printed ones. So we've got two here. I believe this one is probably fine, minus the flex cable. This one, presumably dead pixels and a replacement flex cable. Likely won't change anything, but I'm going to go ahead and try. So I went ahead and grabbed some of these virtual eye patches available on eBay. There are a couple different options, couple different people selling different versions of the same kind of idea over on Stone Age Gamer. Okay, yeah, so Stone Age Gamer has these virtual ribbon replacement kits. Thing is, they come with like mandatory 2-pack. So this one is essentially a QSB with an FFC cable. Kind of nice because if the cable gets messed up, you just swap out the generic flex cable there, plug it on in. So that is cool. But we're gonna go ahead and try these Virtual Boy Eyepatch. It's just the flex cable. It doesn't seem like the FFC connectors are soldered by default on these. So yeah, Virtual Eyepatch might be the way to go. I can't speak for certain though. I haven't used either, but we're gonna go ahead, swap in two of these, and see what happens. So first things first, I'm gonna start with this one, because this one's totally botched, and I think the odds of this one working, there might be hope for this one. I have very little hope for that one. The only chance that replacing the flex will work is if there was an issue with those two traces that resoldering it wouldn't fix. But I don't believe that to be the case. You never know though. You never know. It's worth a shot. Try to bring it back. There's only so many of these out there, so gotta try to get rid of it. Haven't watched any videos, haven't looked into it much, so we've got Okay, so we've got this crap here. Okay, so it's already kind of peeling away from that. That's nice. I believe there's a silicone. Yeah, something like that. So we want to dislodge it from that so it can actually come up. We're just going to treat this like any old flex cable, heat it up, and try to peel it off. Okay. Okay. Fairly simple. Alright, so we've got a lot of loose traces here. So I'm just going to kind of like brush it out. Tin it up, brush it out. Add a little bit more flux here. Try to get rid of any weird leftover traces. Add some more solder to my tip here. Just let it soak it up. Okay, clean it off. Okay, so this side's a bit of a mess. Kind of hard to tell what's going on. Okay, so I'm going to hit it with some IPA so we can get a better look underneath that flux residue. Let's see what's going on. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, so the orientation goes like this, where we've got the brace for the flex and the silkscreen image looking at us, lens flipped over. And I do like on this design here, we've got vias, so we can you know, solder will go through the joints. Now I'm going to hit it with some flux. First off, I'm going to be using my chisel tip here, about 330. It's not a very thick flex cable. And this silk screen here, I assume that is for the edge of the board. Okay. Oh, this is looking okay. Just want to get it tacked in. All right. Nice. Okay. Beautiful. I want to add a bit more flux topside. We're going to go over each of these pins. One at a time, not too much solder on the tip. Just a little bit. I got enough heat to clear any bridging as it happens. So okay, very nice. So with the right tools, this is pretty damn easy. And possibly, I don't know, a bit quicker to do than trying to fix the flex cable. So if you want to just go for a brand new cable off the rip, something like this seems pretty solid. I like those vias, and I haven't tested yet, but really what I was mostly focused on, one, the alignment. Once you get the alignment, I was just kind of looking at those vias and making sure they're all nice and filled. All those holes in the flex cable should be nice and filled with solder. For any of you keen observers there too, seeing the shorts here, one here, one there, that is normal. Now if you look at the trace, I'm assuming one's power, one's ground probably, but yeah, the trace is the thickness of two of these traces, so these are connected. Okay, before testing this one, let's just bust this one out too. I'm gonna go ahead and test both of them. There she is, ladies and gentlemen. Very easy to install. Very, very easy to install with the right tools. And I would highly recommend some form of optics. Any of those cheapo Amazon microscopes with the LCD will get the job done. I'm literally just using my camcorder, and I'm seeing what you guys are seeing, which is helpful for me. So yeah, optics, very nice. You don't need to go crazy and get one of those super expensive ones that you look into. Just something so you can zoom in. Just get used to working in without depth perception because it's 2D. But yeah, pretty good. Okay, so off camera, I'm going to test, and I'll report back with the findings here. Well, alright, ladies and gentlemen, I've gone ahead and tested both of these flexes here. So this is the one that was loose and floating around, and unfortunately this one's got all kinds of dead pixels on it. Refloated a couple times. It's not the soldering, it's not the new flex cable. Something, I believe the lens got damaged because it's like every other line is missing, unfortunately. And then the first one, as expected, no difference between the initial reflow, the initial testing, even the two that were originally messed up. Reflowed it, they were still messed up. Replaced the flex cable, still messed up. So that first one's got 2 dead pixels, and this one is just totally jacked up and has like half of the pixels are dead. So what is the moral of the story here? Consider Virtual Boy repairs a gamble. If you get one that has some dead lines, I think your odds are good, because I've done a couple of these and this is the first time I've run into dead pixels. But talking with the lads in the Virtual Boy Discord server, some say it's pretty rare, others say they see it somewhat frequently. So if you've got dead pixels on the lens, as far as I know, it is unfixable if they're full dead. If it's not an issue with the cable coming up, as traditionally is the case, sometimes they're just dead, and dead is dead. You need a new lens. No amount of replacing the flex cable is going to fix that, unfortunately. So yeah, not the best conclusion. Probably can chalk it up to fairly bad luck with the dead pixels there. It doesn't seem super common, but it's out there. So as for which method to try out of the two shown here, I mean, if you just want to give it a go, just reflowing that flex cable like we did at the beginning, perfectly fine. Should be pretty much the same results. You might want to clean the contacts with some IPA too, because mine were a bit crusty. But those old flex cables are kind of falling apart, like completely. I do like this approach of completely replacing it like this. As for difficulty level, it's pretty much the same. It's a little tricky to line it up maybe. But if you've got optics, which you should have to do either of them, that shouldn't be much of a problem. And as for, feeling wise, what's more satisfying to do, I feel like swapping the whole thing out is a bit more satisfying. This looks pretty nice once this is installed. So yeah, I don't know, in the future, I'd prefer to do something like this, the full flex replacement. It's nicer, it's cleaner, it's satisfying to do, satisfying to look at, and pretty damn good solution. So it's all subjective, totally up to you, either or. One is free, one is $8, so they're both, still pretty damn cheap to get some flex cables. So anyways, guys, hope you learned something. Sometimes things just don't work out, and that's the nature of the game. Move on to the next one. We gave it our all, didn't work out, we had dead pixels. We'll fix the next one. Now, one other thing before I go, worth mentioning too, is how do we make lemonade or whatever out of this one? What do? Squeeze it. How do we squeeze this? What would I do if this was one for me that I'm refurbishing and I want to keep it in the collection? How would I go about it? So what I would do is I would buy another 4 parts Virtual Boy, fix up those lenses, and hopefully, I think the odds are pretty good that at least one of those two will get working. So then we'd have 2 working lenses, so we can have a standard vanilla Virtual Boy look into, and the lenses are fine. And then from there, I would take the secondary motherboard and get a nice virtual tap home console, consoleized Virtual Boy. Very rad. I have one here in my collection. Generally, if I want to play a Virtual Boy game, I play it on my consoleized Virtual Boy machine. It's very nice to have, very clean, 3D printed shell, all of that. And yeah, you can either do component out or VGA out. It's very cool. Swap the colors if you want. Rad device. So I don't know. I think if I were in this situation, that's what I would do. I would buy another one, hopefully get another lens working, and then we'd have a consoleized Virtual Boy and a regular old set it up and look into it Virtual Boy. So I'd squeeze those lemons that way.